I saved a dying man with a soda and lost my job, my dignity, and nearly my home. My name is Naya Torres, and I never expected my act of kindness would turn into the downfall of the man who called me a thief. It was a Tuesday morning at the diner. I'd been working the breakfast shift for 3 years, pouring coffee and smiling through exhaustion. My daughter Lily was 6 years old, and every dollar I made went toward keeping a roof over her head. The man stumbled in around 9 a.m., sweating profusely, pale as paper. He gripped the counter like it was the only thing holding him upright. Other customers stared. Nobody moved to help. I recognized the signs immediately. Shaking hands, confusion, rapid breathing. My mother had been diabetic before she passed 2 years ago. I knew exactly what I was seeing. "Sir, are you okay?" I rushed around the counter. He tried to speak but couldn't form words. His knees buckled. I grabbed the nearest sugary drink, a Coke from the fountain, and held it to his lips. "Drink this, please." Small sips. He drank. Within minutes, color returned to his face. His breathing steadied. I called 911. The paramedics arrived and confirmed it. Severe hypoglycemia. Diabetic shock. "You saved his," one paramedic said. Another few minutes, and he wouldn't have made it. I smiled with relief. Then I heard my boss's voice behind me. "What the hell did you just do?" Steve Sterling stood with his arms crossed, face red with anger. He was the owner of Sterling's Diner, a man who valued profit over people and never let anyone forget who was in charge. "I helped him," I said calmly. "He was having a diabetic emergency. You gave away product. Free. Without asking me." I blinked, confused. It was a medical emergency. I gave him a soda to save his life. I don't care if he was dying. You don't give away anything for free. This isn't a charity, Naya. This is a business. The other customers were watching now. The man who'd collapsed was being loaded onto a stretcher, still too weak to speak. He looked at me with gratitude I'd never forget. "Steve, I had to." "You're fired." The words hit like a punch. "What?" "You heard me. Clear out your locker. You're done here. I have a daughter. I need this job. Should have thought about that before playing hero. Get out." He turned and walked away. Just like that. 3 years of loyalty meant nothing. Saving a man's life meant nothing. I stood there, shaking, trying to process what had just happened. Around me, customers whispered. My coworker Tessa looked at me with sympathy, but said nothing. I grabbed my purse and left. I didn't even clean out my locker. I just needed to get out before I broke down completely. I picked Lily up from school that afternoon, forcing a smile I didn't feel. She climbed into our 10-year-old car, chattering about her day, oblivious to the fact that our world had just tilted dangerously. "Mama, can we get ice cream?" "Not today, baby. Maybe this weekend." At home, the eviction notice was still taped to our door. Bright orange. Impossible to miss. 6 weeks behind on rent. $3,000 owed. Payment required within 14 days, or we'd be legally removed. I'd been counting on this week's paycheck to start catching up. Now I had nothing. Inside our small 2-bedroom apartment, Lily settled in front of a TV while I sat at the kitchen table and cried. Quietly. I didn't want her to hear. My mother's voice echoed in my head. "You're stronger than you know, Mija. You come from survivors." But right now I didn't feel strong. I felt broken. I made Lily pasta for dinner, the cheap kind, butter and salt. She ate happily, unaware that I was calculating how many more meals we had before the pantry ran empty. That night, after putting her to bed, I applied for jobs online. Anything. Everything. Fast food. Retail. Cleaning services. I sent out 20 applications before midnight. I had to believe something would work out. It had to. A week passed. Not a single callback. Not even an interview request. I applied to 50 more jobs. Still nothing. Finally, I reached out to my friend Carmen, who worked in HR at a local hotel. "Can you help me understand what's happening? I'm qualified for these positions. Why am I getting ghosted?" She was quiet for a moment. "Give me a day. Let me ask around." The next afternoon, she called back. Her voice was tight with anger. "Naya, Steve is giving you bad references." My stomach dropped. "What?" I called 3 places you applied to. Pretended I was checking references for another candidate. Every time I mentioned Sterling's Diner, They told me Steve said you were unreliable. That you stole from the register. That's a lie. I know. But he's spreading it. He's blackballing you. I felt sick. It wasn't enough that he'd fired me for helping someone. Now he was actively destroying my ability to find new work. Can I sue him? Maybe. But lawsuits take time and money. You need a job now. She was right. I couldn't fight this legally. I could barely afford groceries. What do I do? Keep trying. Eventually someone won't call him for a reference. Or try places outside the restaurant industry where he has no connections. I thanked her and hung up, stared at the eviction notice. 10 days left. How was I supposed to survive this? That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about my mother. About the day she taught me to recognize diabetic emergencies. Mija, watch for confusion, sweating, shaking, she'd said, demonstrating on herself during one of her own episodes. If you see someone like that, give them sugar fast. Orange juice, candy, soda, anything. It saves lives. She'd been so calm about it, so matter of fact, like preparing me for the inevitable moment when I'd need the knowledge. That moment came 2 years ago when she collapsed in our old apartment. I'd given her juice, called 911, done everything right, but she didn't make it. The diabetes had damaged too much already. She died 3 days later in the hospital. You did everything perfect, the doctor had told me. Sometimes the body just can't fight anymore. Now, lying in bed staring at the ceiling, I wondered if saving that man in the diner had been some kind of cosmic compensation. I couldn't save my mother, but I could save him. And Steve had punished me for it. The unfairness burned. But I had to stay focused. Lily needed me. Wallowing in anger wouldn't pay rent. I got up and applied to 15 more jobs. Then I lay back down and prayed for a miracle. 4 days later, I was at the grocery store buying the cheapest items I could find when I ran into Tessa, my former coworker. Naya, oh my God, you have to hear this. What? That man you saved? He came back to the diner yesterday looking for you. My heart skipped. Really? Yeah. He was dressed nice, looked important. Asked Steve where you were. Said he wanted to thank you properly. What did Steve say? Tessa's expression darkened. He told him you didn't work there anymore. Said you'd been fired for theft. He said what? The man looked shocked. Asked for your contact information. Steve refused. Said he didn't keep records on thieves. I felt my face flush with anger and humiliation. This man came to thank me, and Steve called me a thief to his face. It gets worse. The man asked other customers if they'd been there that day. Someone confirmed your story, that you'd saved his life. The man got really quiet. Then he thanked everyone and left. Did he say anything else? No. But Naya, he looked angry. Like really angry. Not at you. At Steve. I didn't know what to make of that. The man wanted to thank me. That was kind. But what could he do? He was just a customer who'd had a medical emergency. Still, knowing he tried to reach me warmed something in my chest. At least someone appreciated what I'd done. What I didn't know was that Tessa had done something bold. After the man left, she'd written my address on a napkin and caught him in the parking lot. You want to find Naya Torres, she'd whispered. This is where she lives. But don't tell Steve I told you. The man had looked at the napkin, then at her. Thank you. What's your name? Tessa. I'm her friend. What she did for you? That's who she is. She didn't deserve what happened. No, the man had said quietly. She didn't. He folded the napkin carefully and put it in his wallet. Then he'd driven away, already making plans. But I didn't know any of this yet. I was too busy trying to figure out how to scrape together rent money with only 6 days left. I'd sold everything I could spare, my mother's jewelry, my old laptops and furniture. It totaled $800. I needed $2,200 more. I applied for emergency assistance, but was told the waiting list was 8 weeks long. I looked into loans, but my credit was destroyed from medical bills after my mother's death. Every door was closed, every option exhausted. Lily asked why we were eating the same pasta every night. I told her we were saving money for something special. She believed me. 6-year-olds still believe in happy endings. I wished I did too. The knock on my door came on a Saturday afternoon. I wasn't expecting anyone. For a moment, I feared it was the landlord coming early. Instead, when I opened it, I saw a well-dressed man in his 50s standing there with a kind expression. Naya Torres. Yes. I'm sorry to show up unannounced. My name is Julian Cross. You saved my life at Sterling's Diner 2 weeks ago. Recognition hit me. The man who'd collapsed. He looked completely different now. Healthy, strong, confident. Nothing like the trembling, confused person I'd helped. Oh, Mr. Cross. How are you feeling? Much better, thanks to you. He smiled warmly. I wanted to thank you properly. May I come in for a moment? I hesitated. Lily was watching TV inside. I didn't usually let strangers in, but something about him felt safe. Sure, just for a minute. He stepped inside, his eyes taking in our modest apartment. He didn't judge, just observed. Lily looked up from the TV. Mama, who's that? This is Mr. Cross, baby. He's a friend. Actually, Julian said, kneeling to Lily's level. Your mom is a hero. Did you know that? She saved my life. Lily's eyes went wide. Really? Really? I was very sick, and she knew exactly what to do. You should be very proud of her. I am proud of Mama. Lily beamed. Watching them interact brought tears to my eyes. After weeks of feeling like a failure, someone was telling my daughter I was a hero. Julian stood, still smiling at Lily, then turned to me. I tried to find you at the diner. Your former employer wasn't cooperative. I heard. I'm sorry you had to deal with that. Don't apologize for his behavior. His voice had an edge now. What he said about you, the theft accusation, I know it's a lie. Customers who were there that day confirmed what really happened. He's been giving me bad references too. I can't find work anywhere. Julian's jaw tightened. That's illegal. I know, but I can't afford a lawyer. I can barely afford groceries. He was quiet for a moment, his eyes moving to the eviction notice on the kitchen counter. I'd forgotten it was visible. How much do you owe? Mr. Cross, I didn't invite you in to ask for money. I know. I'm asking because I want to help. You saved my life, Naya. That's not a small thing. $3,000. But I can't accept. Consider it a thank you. Not charity. You did something for me. I'm doing something for you. Tears spilled down my cheeks. I don't know what to say. Say yes. Let me help. I looked at Lily, who was watching us curiously. I thought about my pride versus her stability. There was no contest. Yes. Thank you. I'll pay you back. No, you won't. This is a gift. But Naya. Yes. I might have something else to offer. Can we talk tomorrow? Julian didn't mention something important during that visit. Something I'd find out soon enough. He owned the building. Not as a small-time landlord. As the founder and CEO of Cross Properties, a real estate empire worth billions. He owned commercial buildings, residential complexes, and development projects across 3 states. The apartment building I lived in? He bought it 2 years ago as part of a portfolio acquisition. He rarely involved himself in individual properties. That's what property managers were for. But after leaving my apartment, he'd made a phone call to his company's residential division, which he'd reveal later. The tenant in Unit 304 at Riverside Complex. Naya Torres. Her rent debt is cleared. Immediately. Sir, that's $3,000. Should we? Did I stutter? Clear it. Backdated. She's current on rent. Yes, sir. Anything else? Julian had looked at the eviction, noticed he'd discreetly photographed with his phone. Looked at the cramped apartment. Thought about the single mother who'd saved his life without expecting anything in return. Transfer the building deed to her name. Excuse me, sir? You heard me. The entire building. Put it in Naya Torres's name. She's the new owner. His assistant had been too shocked to respond immediately. I'll send over the legal paperwork, Julian continued. Make it clean. Anonymous. She doesn't need to know it came from me. But of course, she'd figure it out eventually. The call came the next morning. I was making Lily breakfast when my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello. Is this Naya Torres? Yes. This is Amanda Chen from Riverside Property Management. We need you to come to our office today. There's been a development regarding your account. My stomach dropped. What kind of development? We'd prefer to discuss it in person. Can you come in this morning? I couldn't read her tone. Was this bad? Were they accelerating the eviction? I'll be there in an hour. I dropped Lily off at Carmen's house and drove to the property management office with my heart in my throat. Amanda Chun met me in a private conference room. Miss Torres, I have unusual news. Your rent debt has been cleared. I stared at her. What? All past due amounts have been paid in full. You're current on rent. By who? We're not at liberty to say. The payment was made anonymously. Julian. It had to be. But he'd said 3,000. Why would he go through the property company? There's more, Amanda continued. She slid a folder across the table. The building has been transferred to new ownership. As of this morning, you're the legal owner of Riverside Complex. The room spun. That's impossible. I assure you it's legally documented. The deed is in your name. Who would do this? Again, we're not permitted to disclose. But I can tell you the previous owner left a note. She handed me an envelope. Inside was a card with elegant handwriting. For the woman who saved my life. You gave me something priceless. Please accept this small gesture in return. JC. I sat in that conference room crying for 10 minutes while Amanda politely pretended not to notice. When I finally composed myself, she walked me through the paperwork. The building had 48 units. Current market value, approximately $4 million. Monthly rental income after expenses, roughly $8,000. I owned it all. What do I do now? I asked. We can continue managing the property for you if you'd like. Or you can hire a different company. Or manage it yourself. I don't know anything about property management. Then I'd suggest keeping us on. We'll handle everything. Tenant relations, maintenance, rent collection. You just collect the income and make major decisions. It was overwhelming. Yesterday I couldn't pay rent. Today I own the building. Miss Torres, one more thing, Amanda said. Mr. Cross left a message. He'd like you to call him this afternoon if possible. She handed me a business card. Julian Cross, founder and CEO, Cross Properties Incorporated. The man I'd saved wasn't just wealthy. He was a billionaire. And he'd just given me financial security beyond anything I'd ever imagined. I called Julian from my car, hands shaking. He answered on the second ring. Naya, did you visit the property office? You gave me a building. An entire building. You saved my life. Fair trade. Julian, this is too much. I can't. You can and you will. Listen to me carefully. You acted without hesitation when I needed help. You lost your job because of it. You struggled because of it. This isn't charity. This is restitution. But $4 million is nothing compared to my life. I have a daughter too, Naya. A son. Grandchildren. You made sure I get to see them grow up. You think a building is too much payment for that? I couldn't argue with that logic. Thank you. I don't know what else to say. Say you'll meet me tomorrow. I have a proposition. What kind of proposition? A job. Executive assistant to the CEO of Cross Properties. Salary starts at $90,000 a year. Full benefits. Flexible schedule, so you can still be there for Lily. I nearly dropped the phone. You're offering me a job? You're smart, compassionate, and quick-thinking. Exactly what I need. Plus, I trust you. That's rare in my world. I don't have experience in corporate. I'll teach you. Say yes, Naya. I thought about Steve. About being fired for helping someone. About bad references and closed doors. Now a billionaire was offering me a 6-figure salary and treating me like I mattered. Yes, I said. Absolutely yes. My first day at Cross Properties felt like walking onto a different planet. The headquarters occupied 12 floors of a downtown high-rise. Marble lobbies. Floor-to-ceiling windows. People in designer suits moving with purpose. Julian met me personally in the lobby. Ready. Terrified, I admitted. Good. That means you care. He smiled. Come on. Let's introduce you to the team. He'd arranged everything. Wardrobe consultant to help me build a professional closet. Office supplies. Computer training. An actual office with my name on the door. You'll work directly with me, he explained. Managing my schedule, sitting in on board meetings, helping with strategic decisions. I need someone who understands people, not just spreadsheets. The other executives eyed me with suspicion. They knew I wasn't from their world, didn't have an MBA or corporate pedigree. Julian, CFO, a stern woman named Patricia, was particularly cold. Mr. Cross, with all respect, this position typically requires— It requires someone I trust, Julian interrupted. Naya has my full confidence. That should be sufficient. Patricia's lips pressed into a thin line, but she nodded. Over the next weeks, I worked harder than I'd ever worked. Stayed late studying files. Asked a million questions. Proved I belonged. And slowly, I started to believe it myself. 3 months into my new job, Cross Properties faced a crisis. A major development project was collapsing. The contractor had pulled out, investors were threatening to sue, and we risked losing $40 million. The board met in emergency session. I sat quietly in the corner taking notes, trying to follow the complex discussions about liability and contract law. We need to cut our losses, Patricia argued. Liquidate the property and move on. That's admitting defeat, another board member countered. And it'll damage our reputation. They argued for an hour. Nothing resolved. Julian looked frustrated. Finally, I raised my hand hesitantly. Julian noticed. Yes, Naya. All eyes turned to me. I felt my face flush. I'm sorry if this is inappropriate. Speak freely. What if instead of fighting the contractor, we partnered with him on a different project? One that's lower risk. He pulled out because the current project was over budget and behind schedule. But maybe if we offered him something more manageable, he'd be willing to relocate resources. Silence. Then Patricia leaned forward. That's actually not a terrible idea. Julian smiled. Go on, Naya. What are you thinking? I outlined a plan. Use the stalled project's materials and permits for a smaller, more profitable development. Offer the contractor better terms on this new project to repair the relationship. Salvage the investment instead of losing everything. The board discussed it for another hour. Made adjustments. Refined the strategy. Then they voted. Approved unanimously. Julian looked at me with pride. Well done. That night, he doubled my salary. My life transformed in ways I'd never imagined. Lily had new clothes, new toys, and a trust fund for college. We moved to a better apartment, one I owned in my own building. I started taking business classes at night. Julian mentored me personally, taught me about negotiations, contracts, market analysis. You have natural instincts, he'd say. You just need technical knowledge to support them. 6 months after joining Cross Properties, Julian announced something shocking in a board meeting. I'm promoting Naya Torres to Director of Strategic Development. Patricia looked stunned. Sir, that position oversees billion-dollar projects. She's only been here 6 months. And she's already saved us $40 million. She's earned it. The promotion came with a salary of $200,000, an office on the executive floor, a team reporting to me. I called my mother's grave that night and told her everything. How kindness had changed my life. How helping one person had opened doors I never knew existed. I wish you could see this, Mama. I wish you could meet Lily. She's growing up so fast. I stayed until sunset, feeling both grateful and heartbroken. With my new position came new respect. The executives who'd once dismissed me now sought my opinion. My team was talented and eager. We developed 3 successful projects in 8 months. But the best part, Julian kept his promise about flexibility. I attended every school event, every parent-teacher conference. Lily came to the office after school and did homework in my office. Your mom's pretty important here, one employee told her once. Lily beamed with pride. I know. She's a hero. One evening, working late, Julian stopped by my office. How are you doing? Really? Honestly? Sometimes I still can't believe this is my life. Believe it. You earned it. Julian, can I ask you something? Anything. Why did you really do all this? The building, the job, the promotions. You saved my life financially, but why go so far? He sat down across from me. Because you reminded me what matters. I've built an empire, Naya. Made billions. But I'd lost touch with humanity. You didn't hesitate to help a stranger. Didn't ask what I could do for you. You just helped. That's rare. I wanted to protect that. I felt tears forming. Thank you. For everything. Thank me by not changing who you are. Around the 1-year mark, Julian approached me with an idea that seemed insane. Do you remember telling me about your mother? How she dreamed of opening her own diner? Yes. She wanted a place where everyone felt welcome. Good food, affordable prices, and kindness at the counter. What if we made that happen? I laughed. Julian, I'm a corporate executive now. I don't know if not you running it alone. A chain. Your mother's vision scaled. Naya's kitchen. Locations across the city. Each one committed to community, quality, and compassion. We'll hire people who need second chances. Train them. Pay them fairly. That would cost millions. I'm investing $20 million to start. You'll own 60%. I'll own 40%. You make the decisions. I provide the resources. I stared at him. You'd really do that? I believe in you. And I think this could change lives. What do you say? What could I say? The little girl who'd eaten pasta for weeks was being offered a chance to build something meaningful. Let's do it. The first location opened 9 months later. We'd renovated an old building in my mother's neighborhood, kept the design simple but warm, hired people from the community, including 3 women who'd recently left domestic violence shelters. Opening day, the line wrapped around the block. Local news covered it. From waitress to CEO, the headline read. They interviewed me about the journey. A year ago, I was fired for helping someone, I said on camera. Today, I'm opening a restaurant that will never fire someone for showing compassion. This is dedicated to my mother, who taught me that kindness matters more than anything. The story went viral. Social media exploded with support. People loved the concept, good food, fair wages, and a commitment to giving people second chances. Within 2 months, we opened location number 2. Then 3. Then 5. Each one hired locally, paid above minimum wage, offered benefits and training. And each one thrived. Julian had been right. People wanted businesses with heart. By the end of the second year, Naya's Kitchen had 15 locations and was being franchised nationally. I was on magazine covers, speaking at business conferences, inspiring others. But I never forgot where I came from. Success felt surreal sometimes. I'd gone from barely surviving to running 2 companies. Lily had everything she needed and more. We'd achieved security beyond my wildest dreams. But the thing that brought me the most joy? The people we employed. Single mothers, former inmates, people with disabilities, anyone who wanted to work and needed a chance. You hired me when no one else would, one employee told me tearfully. I've been clean for 6 months because of this job. Thank you. That's what mattered. Not the money or the recognition. The lives we changed. Julian often joked that I'd become more successful than him. You've built something with soul. That's rarer than wealth. One afternoon, Julian called me urgently. Naya, there's something you need to know. It's about Sterling's Diner, my former workplace. Steve, the place where this all started. What about it? It's closing. Steve is bankrupt. I felt a strange mix of emotions. What happened? Karma, Julian said simply. Let me explain. After I'd been fired, Steve had continued his cruel management style. Underpaying staff, treating customers like inconveniences. But word had spread about what he'd done to me. Social media posts, online reviews. People who'd been at the diner that day shared the story. Owner fires waitress for saving a man's life. The backlash was immediate. Customers stopped coming. Staff quit. His reputation was destroyed. Then his suppliers learned he'd been lying about me. The theft accusations. The bad references. One by one, they cut ties with him. Can't do business with someone who destroys people's lives, one vendor said publicly. Within a year, Steve had lost everything. His diner went from thriving to dying. He tried to sell, but no one wanted to buy a business with such a toxic reputation. Now, broke and desperate, he'd closed the doors permanently. There's more, Julian said. He tried to apply for a job at Cross Properties. Didn't recognize your name as the hiring manager. You're kidding. I rejected his application personally. Put a note in our system. Not eligible for employment. I felt triumphant and tired in the same time. Julian, I just want to move forward. I understand. But there's something else you should know. He's been telling people the story's not true. That you're lying about what happened. That made my blood boil. A week later, Steve showed up at one of my restaurants. He looked terrible, unshaven, worn, desperate. He waited until I was in the dining room before approaching. Naya. Hey, long time no see. I turned slowly. Steve. Heard about your success. Really amazing what you've built here. He spoke loudly enough for nearby customers to hear. We had some great times at the diner, didn't we? My staff noticed the tension, moved closer protectively. We didn't have great times. You fired me for saving a man's life. Now, that's not exactly what happened. It's exactly what happened. In front of witnesses, you called me a thief, ruined my references, made it impossible for me to find work. People were staring now. Phones out. Recording. Steve's face reddened. I was running a business. You gave away product without permission. I saved a man from diabetic shock. That product was a soda that cost you 30 cents. And you fired me for it. Then lied about me to prevent me from working anywhere else. That's defamation. It's truth. And you know what? Karma's real, Steve. You build a business on cruelty. It collapsed. I built mine on compassion. It's thriving. He looked around at the customers watching, at the staff behind me, at the cameras recording every word. I came here to make peace. Maybe you could help me out. No. You made your choices. Now live with the consequences. Security escorted him out. The video went viral within hours. The fallout was swift. Steve became a cautionary tale, the boss who fired an employee for kindness and lost everything. News outlets covered it. Business journals analyzed it. Employment law professors used it as a teaching example. Meanwhile, I received hundreds of messages from people who'd experienced similar treatment. Fired unfairly. Discriminated against. Cast aside by cruel employers. Your story gave me hope, one woman wrote. I was fired for reporting harassment. Thought my career was over. Now I'm starting my own business. Thank you for showing us we can rebuild. Those messages mattered more than any profit margin. Julian called to check on me. How are you handling all the attention? It's overwhelming. But good, I think. If my story helps even one person stand up for themselves, it's helping thousands. You've become a symbol, Naya, of resilience, of justice, of the fact that doing the right thing eventually pays off. I just wanted to help someone. I never asked for any of this. That's exactly why you deserve it. 6 months later, Steve was spotted working as a night janitor at a warehouse. Some people found poetic justice in that. I just felt sad. Cruelty had cost him everything. He'd had a successful business and threw it away because he couldn't show basic human decency. 3 years after saving Julian's life, I stood at the opening of our 30th Naya's Kitchen location. Lily was 9 now, smart and kind and proud of what we'd built. Julian gave a speech. 3 years ago, a woman I'd never met saved my life without expecting anything in return. Today, she's changed thousands more lives through compassion and opportunity. Naya Torres is proof that goodness wins. Always. The crowd applauded. I felt my mother's presence so strongly I nearly cried. After the ceremony, a reporter asked me about Steve. Do you regret what happened to him? I regret that he chose cruelty over kindness. But his downfall wasn't my doing. It was the natural consequence of his actions. He taught me an important lesson, though. How you treat people when they have nothing to offer you reveals everything about your character. Would you ever forgive him? I don't carry anger toward him. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. Or enabling. He made his choices. I made mine. We're both living with the results. That night, I visited my mother's grave. Brought flowers. Told her about the restaurant chain. About Lily. About the life we built. I did it, Mama. Not just surviving. Thriving. And helping others along the way, just like you taught me. The wind rustled through the trees. I chose to believe it was her way of saying she was proud. Full circle moments are rare in life. But today I experienced one. A young woman came into our flagship restaurant looking exhausted. She had a little boy with her, maybe 5 years old. They sat in a booth, and I watched her count change on the table, clearly calculating what they could afford. I walked over personally. What can I get you? Just maybe a kid's meal? And water is fine for me. When's the last time you ate? Her eyes filled with tears. Yesterday. I knelt beside the booth, looked at the little boy, saw myself and Lily 3 years ago. Everything's on the house today. And I'm going to send you home with enough food for the week. Okay. I can't. Yes, you can. I was you once. Someone helped me when I needed it most. Now I'm helping you. Why? Because kindness matters. Because we all need help sometimes. Because I remember what hunger feels like. I brought them a full meal. Watched them eat with the kind of gratitude that comes from genuine need. Before they left, I gave the woman my card. We're always hiring. If you need work, call me. She stared at the card. At me. You're really Naya Torres? The one from the news. I am. You saved that man and lost everything. And gained everything that really matters. I smiled. Life's funny that way. As they left, I thought about the journey. About how helping one person, giving one soda to a stranger, had transformed my entire existence. I didn't know who Julian Cross was when I saved him. Didn't do it for reward. Just did what my mother taught me was right. And somehow, inexplicably, the universe had balanced the scales. Steve had lost his cruelty. I'd found my purpose. Lily joined me at the counter. Mama, why'd you give them free food? Because they needed it, baby. And because we can. She nodded like this made perfect sense. Because in our world it did. Helping people wasn't just good business. It was good humanity. And in the end, that's what mattered most.